any human transcending from incarnate to discarnate has a spirit. The soul is a companion to that, but the soul is a characteristic. The soul is the character of the spirit, and kind of describes the integrity and the morals and the love or hate that the spirit has. And when you do transcend, just as a sidebar, when you do transcend over, at that point, that very point in time, you take all the baggage with you that you have from this past lifetime. Let's not get into prior incarnations, reincarnation. That's another really interesting topic. But so you have all the good, bad, and the ugly at that moment. You're not an angel, right? Right then, that's something. Your evolution is something that has to be earned. The most valuable thing, though, that the research says is to acquire love as you progress. That is the most universal, valuable thing there is. And when you start to think about it, you really start to come to that same conclusion in all different ways. Whether, for all kinds of reasons. You come to that same kind of conclusion. It's difficult to embody that in our container, the way that we're designed, the way we think, a reptilian brainstem, and all of that sort of thing. And, the human species is men, not so much women, but our gender have caused a hell of a lot of trouble on this planet. 99% of all the crap that's happened has been because of men, right? So we have had a terrible time learning to express that behavior, that attitude of love. Terrible time. And we're embarking on something new that tries to give us a clue as, is there going to be enough time? So, where does that, what's the end game? Where does that lead? Because we have free will. And by the way, this as an incarnate, and the discarnate also has free will. Discarnate spirits can make choices as to the environment and what they want to be in and how they want to think, and spirits of a feather flock together and all that. So we make all those same choices here, and for better or worse. And so that free will can really get us into trouble. The biggest grunt starting this path, going down this path, is that having to come to grips that you're going to survive your container, like we keep saying. That is like 95% of the grunt of getting to an open door, is just coming to grips with that, having to get enough evidence that's not faith-based. You can have more faith if we have more evidence of it, right? What's wrong with that? It's kind of missing in here is that there's an evolutionary process on the other side for every spirit, for every soul, for all these trillions, is that you get to a higher and higher order of spirituality. You're not bumping along on our graph. You're actually making progress over time. And the time for every spirit is different because every spirit has free will. We have free will. So it can muck up things. It can muck up the pace and the time frame it takes, right? So it's going to be all different. And so, but there are strata, okay? There are many subset strata within, apparently, according to the research, 7 major strata. And when you start to get to the end of the 6th or the 7th strata, the spirit no longer has much of a recollection or a continuity or a contact with being human that was once a human being. It transcended as thought to begin with, again, which is this big jump. We're going from a container to existing as thought without a container. This is a big, huge friggin' jump. It's the biggest jump I think there is. And then after that, all things become much more clear. You have this enormous evolution. To where? To what? Well, you are now being, since you were an expression of a super force as an incarnate, you now become much more part of that super godlike force. Okay? So now you are able to be in more communion with that kind of a force, if you will. I'll use Whitley Strieber's word there that was made so famous. But you have a type of communion that's completely different than you had even as a lower discarnate, much less an incarnate. You're not into a perpetual purgatory. You have free will on both sides. You have the free will to change your thinking, to change the way your spirit thinks and the way your spirit behaves. You have to desire that. You have to get to where you want that. You are tired of a darker, gloomier kind of existence where you are, and you're going to be with others that are similar, and you start to get fed up with it. And you start to say, is this all there is? You want something better. Not just more, you want something better. And the minute you start to think that way, other better equipped thinking spirits are there to help you. And so that is the progress that you're in for, or lack thereof, until you get that change of attitude and feeling to where you want to start to feel better to your fellow spirits, and change the behavior that you had as a human. So even Alexander went into a very different, interesting near-death experience location, but eventually he came up. He progressed.
Yes.
He progressed out of that. And he progressed because he was already the frame of mind he wanted to. So once you get to that frame of mind that you want to, now you're on a path.